have Nic Chahine on. He's a Marketfy Maven. Nick, what are you making of this chaos in the market today?
It's more of the same. Where the bulls, the people that want to buy the market, ran out of hopium sources. So they needed some good news, and the yell and pop didn't last. We didn't think it would last. I said if it does pop based on a no rate hike, you should short it because it is a relief pop that something bad didn't happen. The only reason that I would chase it is if she had said something that would cause me to think that it was going to be sustained effect, like, okay, I'm not raising rates now, nor anytime in the near future, and I might even think about some QE. Okay, so then that might throw some hopium out there that things are going to get better. But as it is right now, you guys were talking about the IBB and the biotech, and I posted a couple of charts in there. That what scares me is that the IBB, the whole biotech sector slash healthcare is an eyeball bigger than Apple in the NASDAQ. So, and a lot of it is new profits, and those tend to be weak hands because, at the first sign of trouble, they want to get out the door first. So that worries me. I'm not worried about the value of Apple. Yes, it may dip for a couple of months maybe if the whole market tumbles, but at least there's value there. We know they have, a good asset balance there. And they also have a product that sells out every time they put it out, the phones mainly. And yesterday the joke was buying Apple on an e-car regurgitation of the headline there and then selling Tesla. I was like, boy, there are other reasons to sell Tesla if you want to sell Tesla, but not because Apple's getting into the market, because I doubted they are. And
no
if they are,
flying
I mean,
car?
no flying car. Well, they can't even source a phone. I mean, you always hear of some supplier issue because they like to hold everything so tight. So I just can't imagine that they're doing a car. And if they are, it's not a reason to buy Apple. It's a reason to doubt Apple. That's my opinion. They do what they do. They do it very well. And why should they just jump into something that's not proven? And then CNBC mentioned that it's in the well-established market. No way. If it was well-established, then it wouldn't need all these government subsidies to A, buy cars, and B, make cars, and then anything that has to do with solar, which supports the electrically driven society, like solar panels, everything is subsidized. If so, then it's not an established market.
Nick, let's jump into some individual stocks here. In the last couple of days, I've been seeing these huge sell imbalances in Hewlett-Packard. Yesterday was enormous. It was almost 1 million shares to sell. This morning, I'm also seeing 186,000 to sell, and it's trading down significantly as well. I just want to get your technical thoughts here on Hewlett-Packard as we're starting to break down here, and we're actually not that far off of the flash crash low, which was back at 24.80. We're trading under 26 here this morning.
Yeah, they're splitting, right? Or did they already split? I lost track there. But a while back, once they lost 30, to me, it made a huge, huge, the technical, head and shoulder, my kind of head and shoulders, the big crayon. And that pointed to these levels. And but here, I wouldn't chase it. It seems like they're hanging their hats on one thing and 3D printers or this or that, but I don't think the street likes their CEO. So it sounds prepackaged. Every time they speak, they don't give me an idea of where they're going to go. It's almost like an IBM situation. Okay, maybe it's a good company. Maybe they have this. Maybe they have that. I don't know any of it. It's all general terms. Or we're doing this, and they cut people. So they're holding their bottom line okay by doing some stuff that doesn't instill growth feeling. It like I don't believe they're growing anywhere big time.
Yeah.
I believe they're trying to stop the bleeding. So.
The growth is a concern here, I think, too. Like Hewlett-Packard, IBM, all these old-school tech stocks there are trying to find their way in the new tech world here. And I think, that's why they've kind of went from growth stocks back in the 90s, and they're kind of like just cash cows here now. And you wonder when that cash starts, to become not an issue if you don't continue to grow the earnings.
Pull up a 2-year chart on it, and you'll see that the area where it's like 25 and a half makes like a perfect tent. Right, so you don't want to see that
pattern.
Yeah, the tent pattern. So if that's lost,
what is the tent pattern? Is that a bearish pattern? The tent pattern?
It's not a good pattern.
It's not a good pattern.
And if that's lost, then you're looking at 24 really fast. And then if that's lost, then it goes back to about 2 years ago levels, which is around the 21, 22. I'm not calling for it, but if the market's in general correct, this is not out of the question. Just like on IBB, I mentioned the worst case scenario on BIB, for example, not the worst case scenario. There are some technical levels that'll scare some people, but I'm looking at it. If it fails here, and it looks like today it might, which here is the 300-ish, there's no reason why it can't see 240, 230. So that's Biogen. Not fundamentally. I don't track it fundamentally, just from the price pattern and what the markets are looking like. So one thing I'm looking at today are the small caps.
Nick, one more here at GoPro. You had a great call on this stock from 45 down to 35. Now it's trading at 31.30. What are your thoughts here as we're starting to approach the all-time lows? If we go back to when the stock originally came out at 28.65 back in June of 2014, we're not that far away from that level here now.
Right, and there's no reason that should be a floor. Again, last week I told you I went long GoPro the day before.
Yeah.
And I rode it up a couple of days and got out of it.
Nice
and it wasn't big money, but it was a victory. And these days, I don't overstay my welcome in any trade whatsoever. As far as the bottom holding, the recent low holding, you never want to see a stock bounce off of a low and then revisit it about 4 or 5 days later. So now it makes it critical that it holds that low from a few days ago, which was 31.30 or something like that. So if it loses that, since it is a new issue, relatively speaking, and it doesn't have history past that, I won't make the assumption that the entry price or the first day you traded is the bottom. Not that it doesn't belong there. I personally don't like the new camera look. I have 2 of the old ones. I'm not rushing to buy another one. So they have to give us that other story that made people follow them to 90 almost.
Nick, I think we lost Joel here. Joel, are you still there?
I
think we might have lost Joel. Anyways, I thought Joel said he was going to talk, but maybe we lost Joel for a quick second, so we'll get him back.
That's all right. I'll make a bet with you. What do you want to bet? No.
Oh, you want to do the betting? Yeah, Joel isn't here to bet.
Hello?
Oh, right,
there he is.
They muted me. Don't you wish you had? Lisa wishes she had a mute button on me. All right, Dennis, we are going to let you go. Thanks, Dennis.
I actually do have to hop here, Nick. I got to go trade the open. I got about 35 positions here right now, so I got to go work those out. But Nick, it was great talking with you here, and I just stayed on an extra 10 minutes just to talk with you, Nick. So,
Nick, how you doing for time here?
I have another couple minutes.
Okay, all right. Nick, big down open here. 25.75 is a pre-market low. I mean, I know we talk a lot about, your strategies and putting things on. I mean, I don't think I see you selling in the hole here. Do you use this kind of big down opening just kind of to trim positions, maybe some profitable positions here, or do you think this is one of the times where you're just not? I mean, how many times do we have these big down opens and then get these vicious rebounds? So, just real quickly, how you playing the open?
Well, I can tell you in general terms for the last few weeks, since the flash crash, I've said there's no reason to start any conviction trade because now it's sentiment and headline trading. And between Greece and all of those headlines, you know all about them. So my strategy during those days is to manage current risk and put more maybe of what's working. So you know that I've been short in general terms via credit call spreads out in time and up way above current levels. So those are profitable, and I'm not rushing to close them. I close the ones that become too cheap. But as far as putting in new positions, one thing I'm not doing, I know that it should not be done for me, is catch these falling knives. Because if 1929 or 30 is lost, there's no reason why we shouldn't go to 1900. And from there, I'm pretty sure some technical analyst will tell you, okay, now that we've lost this, we can go to 1850 and retest those lows. Seems like they want to do that. So I will make room for that. I will make room for another 8% drop in one day. I'm not calling for it, but I have to be ready. I don't want to be, I mean, the picture, can you get the picture out of your head of that morning that we flash crashed recently? I can't. I mean, the levels were mind-blowing. There's no reason why they can't repeat. So I have to make that assumption and be ready for it.
Okay, we got a slower moving issue here, and big news on Volkswagen here is hitting hold of the auto sectors. I mean, Ford, SF Bright G is asking about Ford here. Nice dividend. I mean, you're gonna buy if you're buying the stock of 14. Obviously, you're not gonna get rich on principle. Look at the charts, looking at Ford, whatever fundamentals you can come up with. Nick, give us your take on Ford.
Okay, Ford. The one question yesterday that came out is who else is doing this as far as Volkswagen issues. I doubt that it's
Ooh.
industry-wide, so let's not make that assumption, but maybe the market will try to think about that. Technically speaking, Ford was in a descending channel for the last, since March, end of March maybe, and it's been lower highs, lower lows, except for that dip for the flash crash. Let's ignore that for a while. It's closer to the upper end than the lower end of that descending channel, which is not bad in normal terms. So if it can break out of the 1450, 1430, it might have some legs to break out of that channel and maybe reach towards 15 or 15 and a quarter. But if it wants to continue trading that channel, it may bounce against the 1430 or 1450 and revert again lower to a lower low and continue on to that descending channel. That's technically speaking. Fundamentally speaking, he might be able to track it better than I do. I also look at previous bounce levels for the last 2 years, and they seem to be centered around 1350 and 1375, except for a couple of pokes lower. So, but I usually want to draw like a less fit line, kind of like a rubber band rather than a hard line.
Okay. We know you follow Priceline pretty closely here. I did see it had an inside day yesterday. That's not going to hold up today here. It got up into the 1300 handle, Nick. I know this has been one of your babies here. Anything going on
Mhm.
in Priceline?
Priceline, I usually short it when it gets up into extreme levels and go long it when it gets lower. But it is the mother of all momentum stocks, and in these uncertain terms, I sat on my hands as much as I wanted not to, and didn't touch it. But I'd be more tempted to short it via long distance leaps way up in like 16, 1700 level. So I'm
Can you
nowhere
get
near the
any
current.
premium on those, Nick, in
You
16?
you can you
No
can get
way.
crazy premium on that guy on a good day. So you have to catch it right, and it'll make you a lot of money on either side. But I did not do anything with it. Technically speaking, it has an opportunity to break out at around 1350 if it can get there, because that's a level where it's been lidded. You can draw a line at every peak. And except for that big one on probably their earnings last time, ignore that uh, spike, and you can see that it may want to revisit that spike if it can break the other highs that are there. If not, it could revert fast towards the 1100, not to 1100, but towards the 1100. And
So
this
do,
is the stock that,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Do you throw like when you're trying to get? I mean, because I've looked at the options in those the spreads on some of those things, and even in some of the weeklies, it's pretty wide. Do you wait for something to go bid there and you whack the bid, or do you just put like a crazy offer out there and hope someone lifts it?
I don't put a crazy offer. I find a mid that actually fits what I'm doing. And let me see if I can find you an example on the fly.
Okay.
So $3 for January 1650 call. That's what they'll pay you if you want to sell that call. So if somebody has the margin and they'll do, 10 of those, they can pocket $3,000 and take the risk if it runs through that level by January. But you can protect it in several different ways. I don't condone selling naked anything,
Okay.
but if you want to, this is 1650 from, so 300 and whatever, $350 away for a couple of months or a few months. That's just an example. If you want to go further out in time, you can find bigger. It's $15 if you want to go to April, but that's just too much time for Priceline. It can get there.
It can.
Uh,
Nick, we
yeah.
got to cut you off here. We've been on the line with Nic Chahine. He's a Marketfy Maven. Joins us every Tuesday, usually at 8:35. Folks, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a quick break, and the show is going to cut out here for a minute. I'm going to go splice on the internet line, get it hooked back up, and we should be back live. We're going to might have to refresh your browser. We'll be back in a few minutes. We'll be right back. Thanks, Nick.
Yep.